Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Lanre Lasese. It's the 18th week of the National Conference and the end of the conference is in sight. This week was eventful. 4 committee reports were considered and approved. As usual, we have a report on that as well as a chat with a delegate. With the warning of the secretariat clear to all, the conference had a better attendance as delegates returned to their seats. They started with the consideration of the report of the Committee on Law, Judiciary and Legal Reforms.
All those in favor of the establishment of constitutional courts, say aye. Aye. Against, say nay. Nay. The ayes have it. All those in favor of anti-corruption courts, as special courts, say aye. Aye. All those against, say nay. Nay. The ayes have it.
The next report to be considered was that of the Committee on Foreign Policy and Diaspora. A key amendment is to allow Nigerians in diaspora to vote in future elections.
All those who believe that we should delete the recommendation that Nigerians in diaspora should be given the vote, all those who believe we should delete the recommendation that Nigerians in diaspora should have the vote, say aye. Aye. Against, say nay. Nay. The nays have it.
But one amendment brought the deputy chairman to a stop.
The next that you can read it there, can't you?
The excess of first ladies. You want the measure of first ladies.
The amendment sought to have the excesses of first ladies and politicians in using diplomats for unofficial purposes curtailed.
All those in favor of that, say aye. Aye. Against, say nay. Ayes have it.
The consideration of the report of the Committee on National Security was the most eventful. The deputy chairman of the committee, while giving a summary, made this appeal.
The next point I want to touch on, I will appeal to our friends, the journalists, that they should shut their ears, they don't hear. And if the conference chair will permit, they might ask them to excuse us for 5 minutes.
President disappear.
This directive displeased most of the journalists present.
I'm sorry about what happened inside. The way the words came across, I'm sorry about it. I don't hold back anything in apologizing to you.
Journalists were, however, allowed back into the hall when the conference resumed from break. But a delegate brought up the matter of an impending attack on some villages reported to him by a villager.
And he was telling me that they have been told to vacate their village and that they should go somewhere. They've all moved out and they don't know where to go. And not only their village, including their village, 54 villages in that neighborhood are told to move now by Boko Haram. Something must happen. Let this committee, this sitting, raise a serious issue and let there be a reaction from government. 54 villages are going to be burnt by Boko Haram.
So once again, the conference went into a closed-door session and ended on that note. The next day, the conference commenced with the committee's recommendations.
There shall be a federal police with areas of jurisdiction covering the entire country and on clearly spelled out matters and offenses. All those in favor of that say aye. Aye. All those against say nay. Nay.
ayes have it. The ayes have it.
You announce it.
The ayes have it, yes.
Second, for any state that requires it, there shall be a state police at the state level to be established, funded, and controlled by the state. All those in favor say aye. All those against say nay.
The ayes have it.
The delegates then moved on to the next report, that of the Committee on Politics and Governance. The issue of state policing and cross-carpeting were considered.
That Nigeria adopts a true federal structure with the states operating as the federating units. That the creation of local government councils should be done by the states as they deem necessary. All those in favor that these recommendations should be deleted and the status quo maintained say aye. Aye. Against say nay.
Nay. The nays have it.
All those in favor of the provision that if you cross carpet you lose your seats say aye. Aye. All those against say nay. My Lord.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Again, the ayes have it.
Now to our chat with our guest. He's Dr. Pius Tabitawo, a delegate from Cross River State. He started with his view on the conference so far.
To tell you the truth, the conference has surprised us positively. The conference has done much better than we thought. We have collaborated closely. We have collaborated in different caucuses. We have developed understandings across the board, across different ethnic groups, across different states, different geopolitical zones, different professional groups, across different political experiences. I think all that interaction, has helped the conference tremendously. The conference is moving on well. The committees did a very good job, and the committee reports are being addressed one by one. They are moving well. The quality of contribution is very good. The patience, level of patience, with one another is good. And the chairman of the conference, is growing in strength and sagacity. And he's bringing his great experience, to bear.
But if we were to take this week specifically, this week you had about 4 reports that were taken. How well would you say the conference was able to address the reports of those 4 committees?
Yeah, I think the conference did well this week as they did last week. I mean, they addressed the report on security. The Security Committee report was taken. The Foreign Policy report was taken. The report on human rights, and legal reforms was taken. And very importantly, the report on politics and governance was taken. All these reports were approved. And I believe that when the conference plenary starts again next week, Monday, although that will be a tougher week than the weeks before, we believe that what happened this week and what happened in the week before is going to help us, because we have developed the skills and the temperament to deal with all the matters.
Okay, let me start with the first report that was considered this week, that of the human rights, legal reforms, and judiciary. Now, some will say we have key problems with our judiciary in this country. From your own assessment, do you think the recommendations approved will address most of the problems that bedevil the judicial?
No, I think so. I mean, when people talk about corruption in the judiciary, I mean, there's corruption in other departments too. I think that the strategy for corruption, for dealing with corruption, recommended by the Committee on Politics and Governance, will help not only the judiciary, it will help other components of our society. The Committee on Politics and Governance recommended, and it was such an interesting recommendation, that a national anti-corruption strategy, be established. And that national anti-corruption strategy, if you see the details, will go very far, in dealing with the problem of corruption. But I think that for the Judiciary Committee, for me, the most important recommendation, was the recommendation that federalized the judiciary. Nigeria is a federal country. Federalism is very important for the delivery of public goods. For dealing with Nigeria, as a country that is diversified, and for ensuring that Nigeria is in tandem, the way it is structured with the vision of our founding fathers. The strongest recommendation for me is the recommendation that federalized the Nigerian judiciary.
When you say federalized, can you help break that down so that...
for instance, I just give you one example. The recommendation, and that recommendation was adopted, is that there will be state courts of appeal. And the state courts of appeal would handle most matters, except matters that have to do with special national importance or matters that have to do with human rights, in a very special way, that have to do with fundamental rights, so to speak, in a very special way.